thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Women Crush Wednesday right here on UBC TV. My name is Philomena. Once again, it's wonderful to be able to start off this day with you. Well, yesterday, Parliament was very busy. The plenary session really had quite lots and lots of interesting discussions and conversations that came in from several members of Parliament, and the fact that Ugandans were following again makes me happy. But one thing I'll tell you certainly that really excited me is after the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Anita Among, came out to give the Attorney General up to Thursday to be able to present the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Bill 2023. Now, the Attorney General says, yes, government is still interested in making this law to ensure that there is regulation in the drug usage. Now, if you remember very well, earlier this month, about 5th May, we had the Constitutional Court come out to annul the 2016 Act because of failure to get enough quorum. So we are hoping and praying that this actually goes through, because we know one thing for sure is that we may not be ready for something like this. So regulation is still necessary, seeing as drug usage is one of the biggest issues we are having amongst the youth here in Uganda, which again characterizes the biggest percentage of the population. Well, that and much, much more, also knowing that Kenya has been able to accept to extend the SGR all the way from Naivasha to Malaba, clearly now putting us under the spotlight. How are we going to do our part to ensure that there is enough connectivity all the way from Kampala to Nairobi? Imagine a situation where you would have to use the SGR. Of course, we know that it will definitely limit on the time resources, and obviously we know that things will be much into place. But what we do as the Ugandan side, how are we going to be able to continue this? That and many, many more stories coming through for you this morning. But for now, Robert, Mollen, Felix join me. Mollen, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philomena, and as well to our viewers. I don't know about this Wednesday being Crash Wednesday. I feel like there is a lot that usually comes with the Women Crush Wednesday, identifying who is doing what. And, you know, at this point, with everything going south and west, I don't know, I felt something that Sarah Opendi, Honorable Sarah Opendi, presented to Parliament. That's quite a huge discussion, but she's my woman crush for today. I'll go ahead and crush on her. But also talking about Parliament, earlier this month, actually, in a letter addressed to the Prime Minister, the President was complaining about some opposition leaders that are talking ill about the parish development model. Well, they also came up to say, no, we are not doing anything wrong. We're just saying facts about this money that was provided. And I think there is a little bit of gaps that need to be addressed within the parish development model, the way it was put across. But also, I don't know, among us here, if you know any circle group or anyone who says, for sure, I have benefited from the parish development model, that is still a huge question. There is like a lot of Ugandans that don't know for sure what is going on, but I also think that that has to do with the administration out there, because once this money was released, in an almost ending financial year, by the way, this was budgeted for. Now, why is it that a few Ugandans are not aware of what is going on with the parish development model, that means there are gaps within administration that need to be addressed. And by the way, it is only right that the members of parliament are put on hot seat about this, because they have the overall responsibility for their electorate, for their districts. So they should be the ones actually overlooking as to where or which phase this money is, or how circles are benefiting, how groups are benefiting, how individuals are benefiting. But if they are not coming up with such information, but instead complain, then what do you expect the normal Ugandan to do? They should be the ones spearheading where the process is, instead of sitting back and say, we don't know. Now, if you as a member of parliament that I sent there to represent me, you come to me saying, you don't know, you're not aware of what is going on. Me as a Ugandan, what do you expect me to do? They should carry that responsibility and make sure that Ugandans are informed.
Mollen,
maybe the initiatives are there and they're not even
when you
aware
talk
of
about
that.
the parish development model, I know that amongst us here, Kirabo here is the ambassador of parish development
He has
model.
probably benefited,
and at one
and
point
we're
he
not
said that
aware.
none of us is actually the target beneficiary of the parish development model. I remember that very well. So later on, he's going to be telling us who exactly is supposed to be beneficiary of this parish development model, so that you gauge yourself and see, okay, I need to go and make demands and claims, or I am not the target beneficiary at this point. Felix, good morning.
Good morning, Philo. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
How was your night?
Good, good. How was yours?
I was listening to this story about this, is it Holashaka? Forest thing, is it Holashaka? The name just is also another, this Holashaka something in Kenya. And we are told the numbers are surpassed 200 people. Yesterday also police in Kenya did rescue a big number of people still from the forest. And the numbers still go up and up and up. And for us the big question is that how did we get to this place? Like, how did people become so gully? I don't know how to say it. Like, how can someone just stampede on people's brains like that? The first one, the second, the third, 50, 70, 100, 100, 150, 200, 200 and still counting. Like, what kind of societies do we live in? For both the castrators and even the people who are victims of this. You can imagine.
I told you one time here that for investigative purposes, I may want to join a cult and see how this actually works.
Don't even think about it. There's
I
only
need to
one way.
understand, how is it that people are gullible?
You'll be a story.
Is it
Don't even,
well,
you see, there are things.
for the newsroom, I will die.
So what?
Make the good sacrifice.
Yes, I will make the sacrifice. I'll be giving you my findings in the meantime.
When you're dead.
No, as of course I come closer too, because I need to understand the thought process of both, two sides, like you said, the people who fall victim and the people who initiate this. How does it
But I
even
think
work?
also this, Philomena, this is not human. This must be connoted to something quite very far by spiritual. This is not human.
How can one person like
Honestly.
this convince over 200
And
over 200 people, and you're all there and you fall victim to something like that?
Robert needs
How?
to tell us what he thinks about this. Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you.
How you doing?
I'm very fine. How are you? And of course, I'm
okay.
Well, I just want to tell you there is no story worth your life. A good journalist is one who is alive and telling the stories. This is something that some old man called Henry Waguma told me many years ago. And I want to tell you, you are very zealous, very into getting news. There are so many riots, so many tear gas. And one time I came back when I've been beaten thoroughly by police. I was brought back by a staff van. Told me, young man, there's no story worth your life. And of course, over time I've seen some are now moving in wheelchairs, some we've lost them, so never attempt to say that for this story I'll die. No, no, no. Now, cults, like Felix said, that it may not be normal human beings. Maybe there is something spiritual, that this will get possessed, demonic or something like that. Because under normal reasoning, you'll wonder how someone would be so gullible, so foolish, so vulnerable to that extent. Now, you talked about the parish development model. First and foremost, I want to believe that every Ugandan who dare to understand or pick interest knows something about the parish development model. The question is, do they have the right information? That is one. Two, parish development model has 7 pillars, but it is one pillar that is called financial inclusion. Not everyone qualifies for production, which a road will be constructed, done, everyone may benefit from that road. For that particular pillar where we talk about money, it's to ensure that 39% of Ugandans who are not in the money economy are organized, given some money to enable them get there. Now, the challenge it has faced is what I usually say. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. The visionary leader of Uganda, when he sees certain things, the problem is the body, the people who would work with him, are weak and are not willing. Implementation, that has been the biggest challenge. Implementation, supervision, monitoring, and apprehending with tough measures those that mess government programs. If we do not look at those areas, even the parish development model will soon become a laughing stock, like Bonabagagawale and Tandikwa, to mention but a few. Those are our challenges as a country. That when these good programs, for example, the NRM Manifesto 2021-2026, its theme was very clear: securing your future. Looked at wealth creation for all and job creation. And parish development model was the vehicle they were looking at. Launched on the 26th in Kikuve district. But I want to tell you, therein you hear someone who has messed with that money. What do we do to these people? If we just dilly, begin as if we are in the same bed playing around, even a Robert will steal when he has an opportunity. 3, these programs have specific units, very organized, from parish who are going to monitor. What are they doing? So these are the challenges that government programs are facing. And I'm afraid to say, I'm not a prophet of doom, but unless we do something, the parish development model may face the same challenges other programs have faced. But it's a very good program. People must embrace it. Before you criticize, have the rightful information, because we say, he who has not researched has no right to speak. I rest my case.
Well, that, and of course a whole lot of clarification that comes in handy. Sometimes indeed when we lack the knowledge and understanding of how certain things operate, it puts you in a certain type of position. But it would be very sad if also the PDM went down like the rest of the other programs, because I was very optimistic about this one. I had high hopes, and I want to think we still have time to bail ourselves out of this one and ensuring that we register 100% efficacy of this parish development model. Anyway, we will take you through some of our local stories and international stories as well for now.
And we'll begin with President Yoweri Museveni, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, who has assured the people of Acholi sub-region of government's commitment to end cattle raids by Karamoja cattle rustlers. President Museveni, who is in northern Uganda region, to access and find a solution to the cattle raids by the Karamojong cattle raiders, made the assurance at a meeting with leaders from Acholi sub-region, whom invited at Bararege State Lodge, Okwang sub-county in Otuke district.
The Ministry of Health wants Parliament to allocate resources for community health education by facilitating village health teams. Now, Minister for State for Health in charge of general duties, Anifa Kawoya, stressed that the community health education will play a role in helping the country to achieve universal health coverage. Now, as Uganda strives for universal health coverage by 2030, Ministry of Health wants the legislators to appropriate funds for facilitating community health workers.
And moving on, Uganda needs collective effort on wetland restoration, wetland demarcation, wetland management and capacity development. The Secretary General of the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, Dr. Musonda Mumba, recommends data collection and appreciates information dissemination to communities living around wetlands. Uganda continues to score below average on implementing the policy on wetland conservation. Statistics show that Uganda's wetland cover declined from 15.6% in 1994 to 8.9% in 2017. This decline has led to life-threatening weather patterns characterized by flash floods.
Uganda, as a member of State Association of Strengthening Agricultural Research in East Africa, agricultural research in East and Central Africa is to focus on addressing issues of resiliency of food systems to feed Africa for generations, while addressing the media about Uganda's hosting the Asereka Agriculture Ministerial Conference. State Minister for Agriculture and Animal Industry, Fisheries as well, charge of crop subsector, Bueno Fred Chakulaga, said the challenge of land grabbing and fragmentation hinders achieving resilience of food systems.
Looking at the international stories, Turkey's foreign ministry has slammed the lack of transparency statements made by an international observer mission monitoring Sunday's elections in the country. The statements were issued at a news conference in the capital, Ankara, on Monday by a joint observation mission from the OSCE, Office of Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, and the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. I regret to note that the election administration's work was lacking in transparency, as well as the overwhelming bias of the public media and the limitations to freedom of speech. Ambassador John Peterson, head of the ODIHR Election Observation Mission, said. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has inspected the country's first military spy satellite, giving the go-ahead for what state media described as a future action plan. Kim met the committee leading the satellite's development on Tuesday before viewing the satellite, the state-run Korean Central News Agency reported. Kim said the unsuccessful launch of the military reconnaissance satellite was an urgent requirement of the prevailing security environment of the country, according to the report. KCNA did not provide any details on when the launch might take place. The North Korean leader gave the green light last month when it was announced that construction of the satellite had been completed.
On another story, a one-year-old child died and 23 people were missing and feared dead after a hippopotamus charged into and capsized a canoe on a river in southern Malawi, according to authorities. Police in the South African country's southern district of Nsanje said on Tuesday that the vessel was carrying 37 people across the Shire River when the incident took place on Monday morning. Malawian police rescued 13 with the help of World Food Programme personnel who are working in the area and provided boats for the rescue operations. Nsanje District Police Commissioner Dominic Mwandira said Nsanje Police, Nsanje Police spokeswoman Agnes Zalokoma said the rescuers also retrieved the lifeless body of a one-year-old child who had drawn in collision. Now, speaking at the opening of the 7th Australian World Summit in Vienna on Tuesday, film star and former politician Arnold Schwarzenegger called for urgent action on climate emergency. I call on all my environmentalist friends to move past the old ways and embrace the new environmentalism based on clean energy growth. I call for change, he said. Change is never easy, but this is an emergency, and this emergency demands action. Life depends on it. The Austro-American actor founded the annual event in 2017 to discuss and promote solutions to climate change. It brings together political and business leaders, climate activists, experts, and organizations from around the world. Now, this year was under the theme, We Have the Power.
Good morning, Uganda, and of course, more stories will be coming in as we go by, and later on we'll be sharing with you some of the big stories again you ought to look for in the dailies. That is the Daily Monitor, the Daily Nation, the Citizen, and of course the New Vision. For now, just a daily reminder for your health.
It is all about Hallelujah reflexology drinks, Hallelujah tamarind drink, Hallelujah ginger tea drink. These are immune boosters. Any supermarket, any retail shop, get yourself one so that you do not fall sick. Your body has the capacity to fight off any sickness, and you're productive.
We will go for a break. When we return, of course, we'll be heading into the newsreel for the discussions that are important in the wee hours of the day. And much later on, we'll be getting into the traffic report and the weather report as well, whether we should be expecting more floods or not in the Katonga region around Ruera. Well, that Mollen will be giving us more. We will return shortly.
Live from UBC's
body because
So what I'm saying
that's
is
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak low.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
was brought to you by
Gatawa with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something. But the most important qualification is imagination. Her reason to imagine is slay. His reason is to be the goat. Theirs is to take the beat and make it lit. They want to test edgy until it is fire. Their reason for imagination is to add riz in style. Her reason to imagine is finesse. And hers is to find what's new and bussin'. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda, once again. Welcome to the newsroom. Today being Wednesday and 17th of May 2023. My name is Philomena Mastiko and of course with Felix Nkunda. Well, today's discussion very, very interesting, especially when it comes to safety on our roads everywhere. I mean, a conversation we've had on several occasions and usually not in a good shade. And very many frustrations, of course, are being presented from different sectors. The ordinary Ugandans, the legislators, the leaders, everybody has had a thing or two to say when it comes to transport. Now, it's very interesting because we are also seeing Parliament really taking their stand to ensure that we can have collective efforts towards how safe people are while using these roads. Now, yesterday, the August House went ahead and approved the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023. Now, which among, of course, others will be able to provide for a speed limit in the Act to ease the control of speed limits through the express penalty scheme, where you actually have to pay money or pay fines instantly, or whichever punishment is supposed to be granted to you if you're found on the wrong side of the law is supposed to be express. Now, as past, a person who fails to comply with the speed limit set under subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 2 million Ugandan shillings or imprisonment not exceeding 3 years. Or you could actually pay the 2 million Ugandan shillings but also face the imprisonment of about 3 years. Now, when we look at all of this, one will actually ask, will this be the final solution to some of the challenges that we have seen, especially when it comes to the different and multiple causes that have really outrightly put us into danger or endangered us while we are using these roads? Or maybe it could be just the genesis of the bigger solution. And what bigger solution is that? Well, continue letting us know what you think about this amendment. Do you think it will give us, or it will help us achieve, complete safety on our roads, regulating speed limits by law? 0709-602-592 is the WhatsApp number. And of course, go ahead on our Twitter. The hashtag is UBCGMU. And let's get into this conversation. Felix, are we headed in the right direction?
Yeah, surely, and I think we have had this discussion before, seeking for a conclusive approach from the legal side and policy frameworks or the policy makers in the country towards assisting in fighting road carnage. It has also come to the notice of Ugandans that one of the biggest causes of why we see accidents on our roads, abuse of road instructions or signs, and given the fact that most recently we are registering increased numbers of people dying on roads, that in its own self has given us greater need to find a way to limit this through the law. Now, we have also discussed again, even on this show, some of the interventions methods or interventions we need to have to reduce road carnage will definitely be from the law. Now, when you have road users abuse the roads, you have to find a way to deal with it. And one of the best ways to deal with abuse of roads is deterrency. The second one would be punishments or punitive approach. But also the punitive will take in different forms. Like one of the suggestions is just withdraw individuals' licenses, those hefty fines that will cause punishment later on also be deterring. Because from the amendments, there's a suggested amount up to a tune of over about 20 million. You'll be surprised. So this that is happening, or this that we seek to do or see, we must also engrave it in something that is usable. Because it's not enough for us to have a discussion about don't do this. All campaigns have been done in partnership, government in partnership with different private players. But how much have they yielded?
Yes.
Maybe it was time for us to bring out the whip.
It's like every time we have a campaign, the number of accidents goes higher.
Definitely, definitely. So there's a big fear. And actually, surprisingly, if you look at the statistics just between the time of Easter, when people are traveling to and from, in 2 weeks, almost 200 people had lost lives, you know. But all of these ones, you find that there's a greater number out of these, the accumulated number of deaths on the roads. You find that a greater percentage of them was about abuse of the regulations that govern drivers and riders on the roads. For example, you look at the penalties that have been in place. Do they deter? Are they deterring enough towards road users? That's one. But secondly, would they put someone in a place to fear for committing such an offense? Or they can be used as byways? So in all these discussions, we are seeking to find a place where we can hit a common ground,
yes,
both users and the law or the enforcers.
Now, when you look at the fines that are being implicated, 2 million Uganda shillings, and I did see an argument that was happening over their social media talking about how people actually earn. And yes, even if you got your culprits, are they going to afford the 2 million Uganda shillings to pay? But my thinking here is that, do we need them to afford to pay the 2 million Uganda shillings, or we actually need them to be scared? And also there is another argument that 2 million Uganda shillings is affordable, especially when it comes to certain people. The people we have seen abuse, you know, all these, the speed limits, we have seen them go against all the precautions that we're supposed to be taking on the road. They can actually afford way more than that. So 2 million Uganda shillings is just like a drop in the ocean for them. What do you think about that?
No. The purpose of putting in place a punitive approach to abuse of processes has nothing to do with affordability.
Mm-hmm. Whether you can
For it to be deterring, it must have a fear element, a scare element to carry the deterring umbrella or cape on its own appreciation. It must be able to cause panic. The fine must be able to cause panic for road users, even at the thought of it. Because there must be some sort of apprehension on the other side. It's not enough for you. When people can, for example, the fines, when you look at these express fines, they start to about 20,000. Probably the highest goes to about 200, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the big question is that you either have a lot of defaulters because of enforcement. For example, someone is given a ticket and they are given how many days. Now, some of these research has shown that some of these crimes, these are strict liability offenses. Traffic offenses are strict liability. You don't need to have proof evidence. If you've been caught, for example, for overspeeding, you don't have to prove how was I overspeeding. You come and show me. Because they are strict liability offenses. Now, it means that if they are strict liability offenses, it is a one-way approach. There's not going to be time to go to forth and back, produce evidence. No. How about we also add, and this is one of the suggestions that came from the private sector, that how about we also add the expressness in terms of paying. For example, if someone hits a red light, now, that person can't be given a receipt or ticket, as they call it, and then they go, then they have another how many days to pay.
They still can access the roads.
It doesn't feel like it's a punishment. Exactly. Amidst this time, what is happening? Can this person limited from using the road again? Are they red flagged in the system or what? Or it's just go. So many of our punishments, like recently it is, in these practices, traffic and road safety practices, you find that are not scaring enough, are not punitive enough. Someone in a year can have over even 50 tickets. Why? Because they're just 2020.
And they have overly accumulated, and by the time they really put you on the side of the road and they look through the records, it's just very alarming, because how are you able to accumulate all these tickets, and why are you still on the road with that vehicle?
You know, so, and this is, so when yesterday we had Parliament have a discussion into the road safety, I think it was one of those things that we can say kudos to. And for this time, honestly, particularly, I want to applaud Parliament for the efforts towards saving lives of Ugandans. This is not incidental. It's a discussion we have continuously had. Recommendations have been coming in from various players, left, right, center. So it's timely. But what does this amendment mean for Ugandans? If you may just have a quick question. Don't be surprised, or it wouldn't be surprising that for such an amendment to pass, there has been effect proved to the latter. One, there's something called overspeeding. One of the amendments we have been asking that it touches also training.
Yes. The Attorney General actually was talking about it as well, and talking about also driving licenses and badges for all the people that are on the road driving. And the driving licenses bit is people. I don't know why people question now driving licenses. They believe driving licenses may not even be the solution to the number of accidents we have seen on the road, because people still bribe their way out, or even the people with the driving licenses still cause the accidents. You having a driving license is not going to stop you from drinking alcohol and getting onto the road if your thought process runs along that. Or you having a driving license is not going to stop you from having a car that is in a very bad mechanical condition. Or you having it's really the driving license shows that you can actually get behind the wheels and drive. But what about the other factors that contribute to the numbers that are growing higher and higher by the minute?
Yeah, and we pray that before the passing, many things are incorporated in the amendment. Like, for example, if we can criminalize some acts of road users, like you can imagine someone is driving a car and they kill over 10, 20, 30 people, and they just run away like that. You know? But also we must put in mind and into consideration the kind of roads we have as a country. This has also been a big question and problem. Like for example, there are times you have seen people, I don't know if they are cable companies, you have seen National Water, people who dig through the roads. We must put some sort of penalty towards people who abuse the roads, because these have also been causes of accidents. When you go to rural places, you find that there are also animals. Actually, no longer rural.
What do you mean rural? In Kampala here, you'll find dogs lying in the middle of the road.
This place called Kulambiro. No. As you go to, when you pass by Mulago, that stretch, I normally find cows there. There's that.
Oh yes, I think I know, as Chebando, around Chebando, yes.
Chebando.
I think that is a very prominent place. You find cows, about 6 cows, you know,
in the road.
Yes.
I think this should also be addressed under the amendments, that there should be some sort of like a repercussion for the owners, because animals have also caused lots of accidents. For example, imagine a border rider comes head to head with a cow. Who will survive? To be the cow, definitely. So all these things must be looked into. But when you come to these also riders, there's something we need to understand in terms of training. Who trains them? We must also, you see, there's been a challenge of training places for both drivers, but for drivers it's been fairly sorted, but for the majority, we don't know who trains border riders. And I don't know if there's need to have a riding school.
I mean, if it necessitates, Felix, I support it 100%.
For bicycles, because everyone who comes on a public road should have some sort of standard. This is just my thought. Like even if it's a bicycle person, because many people have been knocked down. There's a guy I normally see on what's the name? On one Gaya stretch, Gayaza, riding backward.
What do you mean?
Honestly, I don't know if our viewers have seen, but he rides his bicycle like backward, like so. Now, you find there's a lot of attention at some point, I think.
And that place is a very busy place. Very busy. Yes.
So we need to, I think, because even if we put well-aligned the road users in terms of motor cars, vehicles, or riders, but all the others are not, you know, given the right information towards how to, it will be as good as useless. So how about we be more inclusive for all road users? And that will also start with the road, people who construct the roads. Do we provide pedestrian walkways? That can be also part of that. When a road is being constructed, there should be pedestrian. Now, this whole business of finding people walking, pedestrians in the middle of the road.
Yes.
You find you're dodging a car, you're dodging a person, you're dodging a cow, you're dodging a rabbit, like all in one flash. So in as much as we can clear all this and put the fines in place, for example, like most of the accidents on the highways have been attributed to some of them, not most, to animals.
Yes.
Animals. That is one. But secondly, even not animals, human behavior. We have seen people encroaching roads. Like, my prayer is that the discussion about this amendment becomes wider than just fines and what. Because all these, like we have seen places where people sell merchandise in roads.
In roads, yes.
In rush hours, morning and evening, but someone is putting their groundnuts in the middle of the road.
They call them rush hours for business, yes.
Okay, so they are part of
so they have decided to be part of it.
It's understandable. That
well, there is feedback here coming in from Messiah, Moshambo K. Henry saying, I've always wondered why a driving license or permit expires. The more I drive, the better I get at driving, but the permit expiring suggests that my driving experience depends on whether I have a permit or not. And he says maybe there shouldn't be any expiration for some of these. But I totally disagree with this gentleman, because there is a lot that changes within time. You could have acquired that driving permit when you are physically able, when you are actually in a very good state, but things change in there. So we also need to understand the mental stability of these people that get onto the roads. So I do want to really say that we still need continuation of, we need to continue testing these people and to see if they deserve the driving permits over time, because the one time that you've gotten this driving permit is not a guarantee that you'll still remain the same driver all the way. And again, I've seen some people become worse drivers as the time goes by. I don't know what happens. They
overbecome this overconfidence.
Yes, they become
that's
very...
where the mistakes start sometimes.
Yes.
But this thing of renewal, in my opinion, I think the mind behind the people who put it in place was, one, financial. It is good for government. It helps government get a bit of money from
because
that
the
area.
government needs money, whether we like it or not. Yes.
If you have noticed most recent, they give you, because if it was not just about, if it wasn't just about money, they'd put the one for 5 years and one for 3 years.
Yes.
And all have different payments attached to them. So there's some aspect of government getting some money. But on the other side, renewals under governance are important for government to do what we call a census. It helps them to upgrade and to sustain their statistics in terms of road users. It's good for statistics, it's good for all those. But the third one would be that it also ensures that errant drivers are put off the road. When you go to renew, these people will find out from the system how many populars you've had. So we call them in Kampala receipts. How many? And you know, you can be denied a renewal. Don't think it's automatic. Reasons can be given and you denied renewal. Yeah. But also what Philomena talked about, there's sometimes change of physical, for example, by the time you got your first 3 years or 5 years, maybe now you're using glasses or specs. Maybe now some people have gotten challenges with limbs, sickness, and all this. And
not so long ago, we saw doctors come out talking about how very many people on Ugandan roads are actually very blind. And we do not see that. People who drive in the nighttime, it's very, very important that the traffic department of police really makes sure that people are in a very good state. People are blind.
Unfortunately,
people are actually blind.
No, I'm sorry.
Yes.
My opinion would be different from yours or from the police, traffic police.
Yes.
I don't think people are blind.
Yeah.
But have you seen the roads? Which road in Kampala has lights? What they are calling blindness is darkness.
They're both
honestly, even if you put them there, they can't see. There are no lights on the roads. So
yes.
That is not blindness.
Yes.
It is simply there is no light. So when you're in a dark room, you can't see.
They're both factors supporting each other.
No, but let's be honest. And these are some of the things that we would want to have discussed with the Uganda National Roads Authority,
yes,
in conjunction with the traffic department. One of the
with Kampala Capital City Authority.
Oh yeah, with KCC
yes,
as well, the infrastructure or whatever, physical planning, whatever it is. When you construct roads, please and please and please, on your budgets, include lights. This has been said in light of criminality and also accidents. This that you're calling blindness, it is darkness. Philomena, even if someone had big eyes, like even probably bigger than mine or what, but there is darkness. You can't just pull out the yolk and what and the retina and what. Like, you can't see. That's not blindness. You can't do magic. Your eyes can't light up there, even if they are big and what. You know. Why are you looking at me?
But yes, I totally get that. I buy it.
No, but no, only away from the jokes, Philomena. We need to put lights on the roads. So, and our prayer is that as this is being discussed, there should be an input from these sister agencies that should assist. For example, like the second, let's talk about the fashion of roads. Do you know some roads are actually very slippery? I don't know if you've noticed this.
They're very slippery and very narrow for a two-way road.
There's this road that Wakariga Road that stretches from Mengo to that Wakariga Road to Natete. The road is so narrow. Then they put these, I don't know if they're called, they're like big blocks to stop. I think they separate the road from the pedestrian.
Like barricades of sorts.
They are very sharp. The accidents that have happened, the border rider and the car cannot be, like if you have two cars and they cannot be another border. There are so many accidents. And this road was built and complaints were put in. And just some of the very unfair challenges we get on roads. And sometimes the causes of accidents may not even, but road users can fail. Now, on top of such narrowness, with these big blocks aside, add darkness. You know?
You have a combination that will give you death.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
But also there's something we would have wanted Parliament to put in this amendment. This consistent checking of car conditions. When do we check our cars? Let me tell you, a car owner it can't be an initiative of a car owner to check their car, because for them it's a financial challenge.
Yeah, I mean it should be like that, but they will try as much to avoid that responsibility.
Because you see someone, even a car service can get done and like, this is Africa.
It can still push a little more.
I don't know how people say this is Africa, which even the conditions in Africa are worse. We should even be waiting for the service to get done, because one, there's too much dust here, the roads are not good, and of course the heat, the weather is not anywhere close to assisting the situation. So as these amendments are done, we also pray that maybe somewhere they can fix in this whole thing of continuous checking of conditions of these cars. Previously we had a show here, and the Minister of Health official, an engineer that was in charge, I think, of cars, inspection and whatever, said that they have agreed that cars that are imported should not be 10 years far from their manufacturing date. Now, what happens to the ones that are already in service? In Kampala, we have cars as old as 30 years. But because any mechanic may check to their satisfaction, but we must have a standardized need for any car that goes on the road. I think some of these ones will also equally be important. But
while we are at it, there is somebody here talking about Ayela saying what we want to see is actual regulations to curb high accident rates in the country. For example, the old taxis, we need to see them banned completely off the road.
He's very right.
Without giving them any option.
Very right.
Yes. And Issa Abide Henry, the emphasis would be on the quality of lessons in driving schools and the professionalism in those driving schools. Have you seen, I've come across a driving school.
Did you go to a driving school?
Eventually I had to. But Have you seen these driving schools that are in such a bad, the driving school cars
I don't know
that are in a very bad
requirement
mechanical condition? You are a driving school. You own a number of cars where you have your learners. They're expected to come and do their lessons and whatnot. But if you look at that car, Felix, it may finish you before you finish your lesson.
They say that it's better to learn from that kind of car. So that when you come, you know all conditions, you can survive in all weather.
Isn't that bad? Because now you come ready for that kind of, you think it's actually okay to have such...
If I tell you my story, how the car that I learned to drive, big ups to a gentleman called Salongo somewhere in Rubaga. Man, that car taught the whole village from my grandfather. So...
but it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't.
I know. But it's because I think this has been put in private, yet it should be a government role. Yes. Just so you know. Actually, elsewhere in the world, it is governments that do this driving credentials, driving. But mostly in Uganda, I have not seen a government driving school. I stand to be corrected. I know many that are private.
No, I think I've also come across, unless of course I'm not in the know that this could be a government, but most of them are actually private.
Now that's the problem. Whenever something goes private, you don't have much control over it because you did not finance it, you only want to tax it. But ideally, government, the inspectorate I think is called IOV, somewhere in Naguru, they call it IOV, the Inspectorate of Motor Vehicles or something like that. It should have its own driving school, riding school. But for example, when you come who are teaching us how to drive, some of them don't know how to drive.
Or they're not licensed.
Like, do you know what happens? Is that they have pedals this side, like, well, there's even a time there was a crackdown on them. I remember that story when they were running in Lubiri. Cars were chasing, there was like a rally, they call it. So now, the teacher is being hunted. What is there? And these are the most common people. You go to that side of Lubiri, you just go here around Bonita, La Bonita, it is like, but they're the most available. Not until now we have gotten, I think, 2 or 3 professional, fairly professional, that have, I won't mention their names on TV, but I think I've seen 2 or 3 professional companies come in. But also, they are also limited. They're also limited. For example, we have been having questions about where do people who drive like heavy duty cars learn from?
Yes.
Let's say like these tractors. What school do they go to? Even these big cars like trailers.
Isn't that even supposed to be indicated on the class of?
Yes, it's supposed to be. But we have not seen which.
We have seen people just do the.
You just have to be a turn man for someone for about 2 months, 5, 6, 1 year. Then they walk to park like that, and that's how most of us learned driving like that. But also on top of that, because if we are trying to look at a wholesome approach and limitation to the death tolls that are happening on the roads, we must have an wholesome approach to this challenge. We cannot just choose to deal with one symptom, fining. You're going to fine people, and people will just probably shun all these fines. You're going to arrest people, and Luzira will be full or Kachitaria or whatever. But our interest is more
already. Yes.
Our interest is more to have sanity, road sanity, than imprisoning people. So let's assist the processes achieve this.
Somebody is suggesting incorporating some of these road safety education skills in O-level, A-level primary curriculum, so that in case drivers bypass school, then at least they have prior knowledge.
But isn't it there?
I was just about to ask.
Let me tell you.
But is it enough? Is it basic enough?
It is. Trust me, it is, and it saves lives. Philomena, today, I'll tell you my personal experience. When I'm using the roads, most of the information I use, the basic information I learned from Shimoni, P4, P5. I went for my interview in Naguru. But they were asking me road signs. Man, I found people there doing, you know what Kasasi is?
I do.
Some of us were stars, but the knowledge was from P4.
But how many people are like you, though? How many people will actually know this and put it to use?
No, they should start paying attention when they're in P4. No, I wish they had paid attention when they are in P4.
No, they will pay attention. People will know
P4
that these are all different road signs. This is what this color means.
And let me tell you how accidents happen. Let me give you a scenario that I've seen many times. Like how people shift lanes when they're overtaking. Have you seen that in Uganda? When someone is joining the road, talk about taxi drivers.
Yes.
The guy will just...
They swerve into the road.
Before you know,
yes,
you're braking, someone is braking on you, and then like that. But these are things that... Fortunately, my teacher in P4 for SST was Sewungu, now member of parliament. Gonzaga, our teacher Gonzaga used to tell us, when you're joining the road, indicate, look in the side mirror. These were basic. Then they teach you about the road signs. What does the dotted white mean? Yes. Dotted yellow mean? Zebra crossing. When you're crossing,
I've seen people drive faster towards a zebra.
I don't know
when they see that zebra crossing, it's telling them, please, please, please.
You know, it is now the reverse.
Yes.
People are waiting for the cars, yet the cars should wait for the people.
Yes.
It's like we used to pass normally around post office.
They're accelerating.
Those days.
It. Yes.
Man, I just don't know what's wrong with Ugandans. And I think there's something else that Parliament, in my opinion, should discuss strongly. The implementation of the camera systems, traffic camera system. I have seen it in Rwanda, in Kenya, and in Europe. It works tremendously. And I want to talk about where I was just a couple of, I think, months or weeks ago in Rwanda. They don't argue with you. There is no, a traffic officer there are about 2 people you'll meet on a busy road, maybe to assist with. You drive those silly things of yours. The camera will capture you. Even the message will get on your phone.
Instant.
You have beat the lights at maybe a clock, is it Queen's clock tower or something, and your fine is 500,000. Then of course they tell you there are repercussions. Make sure you pay blah 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 blah, and they'll send even where you are, at what speed, But I am told, I tried to inquire to find out what really happened, how the government got it, and I'm told that they had an agreement with a company called Hawaii that installed these cameras and all these things. I think we also need to go that way. Yeah. We can start with the central business district. You know, like we have a problem of disrespecting traffic rules and lights.
Don't you think there is something that enables us to do that? Because let me tell you one common statement I have heard almost a number of Ugandans say. Me as me, when I'm moving with cash, ntekamo mutwalo gwani, go traffic police officer. That's it. They have it at the back of their mind. The 10,000 Uganda shillings is just there as a miscellaneous budget for the traffic. So the fact that a Ugandan is very confident to think like that before getting onto the road, honestly, don't you think there is something that enables?
I've also seen that. I was traveling with someone, man, sifunye change. Like, now, then the person says, I'm like, change what? Hey, but my guy, these guys on the roads, man, if you don't have change, no, that's when I'm like, okay, if you're going to travel long distances, but I think that's one of the causes of also the many road accidents, that we are letting the wrong people be on the road because of corruption and all these things.
Yes. Well, somebody here is talking about there is actually a training school in Mukono for heavy trucks just before certain factories there. So I think it's encouraging that we have one of those, and probably people need to enroll more. But also, finally, there is one thing I have failed to understand, Felix. Why do we have, I mean, it's like during the course of a working day, you're having heavy vehicles, you know, use the main roads in town. Like, I've never understood that. Vehicles carrying material, vehicles, isn't there where we can actually have specific roads allocated for that? Or is it a dream that... because I've never understood it. Because like on Kampala...
It's just about policy.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just about our leaders putting it in policy. We have asked times and again, why do you have a car carrying over 20 tons of goods at midday, driving at Nile Avenue, driving Parliamentary Avenue?
Cows and
yes,
the cows there is dung all over the
even
road.
If it's not dung, but why do you have someone? There's nothing wrong with by the transporting cows to the abattoir.
Yes,
but we need to have an organized. But even if it's not cows, goods. Look at the traffic that gets into town. Have you used like the Weyogedede road? That one we gave up.
That one is my
peace.
Road, and I accepted. I understood.
In peace.
It works Monday to Sunday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
But imagine if we're having these big trucks get to town in midnight, and then by around 6-5. This is the order, and this is what is working elsewhere in the world. But for us, I think we're a bit lazy. Ugandans love to sleep, and probably also leaders love to sleep because they are in a club of sleeping, like, you know, that kind of thing. So it beats many of the things that should be done, because this can be policy. The accidents, let me tell you how this, if you've driven a small car next to those big cars, the way they drive, man, your heart is out there.
Yes,
some of us were forced to buy big cars because of
defensive type of driving, and then there is road rage.
They don't care the way they join the road. We have had many accidents in this kind of way. So I think the amendments are quite timely, I must say, but I wish we stretched a bit further so we don't get to have amendments after 3 months again. Let's cover everything, and let's call it the omnibus. Let's have an omnibus. We put it there. Trust me, there are deaths we can avoid as a country. We can deal with the potholes. Let's not deal with burying people because of some of these small things that are avoidable. But secondly, lastly, also the authorities that let's dwell with the corruption when we are issuing driving licenses. It all starts there. Someone will not want to go through the right processes, but they are just preparing death for themselves and many other people. Percentage of people who die on the roads are caused by the people driving those cars. It is hard to say that bagude kabenya maziga fudde motoka, like those are very rare cases that the water came then, but sometimes someone is overtaking the wrong place because they don't know it is a wrong place. I don't know, or they don't know how to read road signs. They don't understand the dynamics. They don't know when to swerve in, when to join the roundabout, what to do. I mean, exactly the few technicalities. But also there are people who steal road signs. That's a challenge. Oh yes. You find that there's a road sign warning. There's a corner ahead. And this is not wrong. And someone scooped away there. So we need to also be very vigilant or find another fashionable style of putting up these road signs to where people thieves. Cannot, pull them out or cut them off or pluck them off. There's one suggestion. What are they using them for? Scrap? What exactly? Yeah, the scrap, because I think it's stainless steel. It's quite expensive in the market, so someone can easily get some money.
Well, there you go, and I hope we can
but there are some signposts they have stolen when they are next to the police. And one time we're having, and I'm thinking, the signpost is in Uganda, it's called, you know what Oluta is? No, I don't. Like a step, a lip step. A very long stride. No, not even, yes, yeah. Like one, I don't know, is it should be? 2 steps away from the police post. Yeah. Not even 2, one step. And the signpost was stolen, and then you think. So anyway, I think we also need to be a bit of enforcement on those people who do steal roadside. I think also one time when you hosted Kasiyate, he decried that about the lights. Oh yes, he did. He talked about it, and we actually moved, and he showed me certain places that have been cut. Yes, cut. How people scoop up batteries of these solar. That's the thing. And I'm wondering what's going on. Yes, Kampala is a capital city. They tell us they are patrols. They tell us they are patrols. No, that's what the police says, that they are patrols. We had a discussion. We will look at the big stories in our papers this morning. The Daily Nation, KEMSA paid farms 870 million Kenyan shillings in a rush. And also looking at Haji nominated to replace Kameru
as a new spy master, and of course giving you new faces at Health Ministry as Ruto shuffles 7 permanent secretaries. Okay, and the Citizen, the task ahead for new Dar RC, and traders splat over Kariako strike ahead of crisis talks. Newspapers and education initiative activated in Dar, and Kikwete, it pained me when Membe joined opposition. Well, the Daily Nation and the Citizen respectively for you this morning. Get yourself a copy, and from our papers as well, the Daily Monitor and New Vision. Mollen coming up with a weather report and traffic as well.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something. But the most important qualification is imagination. Her reason to imagine is slay. His reason is to be the goat. Theirs is to take the beat and make it lit. They want to test edgy until it is fire. Their reason for imagination is to add riz in style. Her reason to imagine is finesse. And hers is to find what's new and bussin'. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning, Uganda. Now we'll be looking at the traffic update for this morning, looking at some of the roads that are leading into a central town. And we'll be looking at areas of Kololo, Namuongo, and, if you're coming in from Chibuli as well, heading into town, some of those roads along there. Now, Namuongo Road looks to be quite clear for this morning. That also connects with That is Bukasa Road, which looks to be quite okay to use if you're coming in from the upper side of Moyenga. That is one that you could actually consider for this morning as well. And you also have a connection from Kalungu Road, that is between Namuongo Road as well as Muyenga Road. That looks to be quite intense in terms of traffic. But then again, as you connect to to Muyenga Road, it looks like that is also quite okay. Barnabas Road as well, that is the one that joins onto the other side of Kabalagala. That looks to be quite okay for this morning as well. But you also have some of the traffic building up. Nyonyintono Road also there. That is Senyonga Road as well, that has a bit of traffic building up. That is across Kabalagala. That is one you might need to consider. That joins into Gaba Road, the connection between that is Gaba Road as well as Senyonga Road. That's where we have a little bit of traffic, but also it does get clear as you head more towards town. That is along Gaba Road. You also have just a small distance with quite some traffic, but that looks to be quite okay. That leads all the way up to that is Henlon Road. If you're connecting from Zambia as well, you do have Henlon Road that has clear traffic this morning, that goes all the way connecting into Mukwano Road. That also looks to be quite okay for this morning. Now also the other side of Chibuli, you also have, you're coming in from the Chibuli side, you also have clear traffic over there for most of the roads along that area, and that also does put in a connection from Namuongo Road that again is still clear traffic for this morning, that joins into 8th Street as well as Mukwano Road, that also has a bit of clear traffic. Now there is just a connection as you connect from 8th Street to Mukwano Road, where there is traffic building up. That is indicated by the red lines and orange lines over there on the map, and that joins into Access Road. That's where you have a bit of traffic building up from 8th Street, the roundabout over there that connects into the industrial area, the Mukwano Road over there, and that's where you do have some intensity in terms of traffic. It goes all the way up to the Kampala Jinja Road traffic lights. That's where you also have a bit of traffic over there coming in from also the upper side of Yusufule. You have a bit of traffic that leads onto the Kampala Jinja Highway. Again, from there, if you're coming into town, that is along that area, you have just a bit of traffic towards the traffic lights, but also that does clear as you head more into town. Now you have a bit of traffic that is starting to build up right now. That is also as you connect towards Parliamentary Avenue, that road over there, Station Road actually, you do have a bit of traffic indicated by the red and orange lines, and also that is quite a small distance. It goes all the way leading into Kampala Road, where you again look at some clearance in terms of traffic that goes on along Kampala Road. For much of this morning, actually, Kampala Road looks to be okay for those leaving town, but also those joining town, you might need to consider that there are small distances where you will be held up with traffic, but also that doesn't look bad, and you could easily navigate through that. Again, from Kampala Road, as you head into Bombo Road, you do have clear traffic that is over there, and of course continuing with Bombo Road, also looking at quite some clear traffic for you this morning. We'll go ahead and take a look at the weather situation as well. Be tapping in from the satellites, take a look at what is happening across the country for this morning. We're looking at mostly cloudy weather that is starting to build up across the western stretch. That is where we also did start off with a few drizzles across midwestern Uganda, but that is also starting to clear for mostly a cloudy morning over there, parts of Masindi, Hoima, and that goes into the Rwenzori area as well. Fort Portal as well having mostly cloudy weather for this morning. Now that system is actually moving westwards, meaning that it will be clearing more for sunny intervals for much of today morning. We could also be looking at quite some warm temperatures coming in. Now across the northwestern part of the country, that is along Arua, Yumbe, and that is where we also did start off with mostly cloudy weather. That is also clearing for mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine. and much of what is indicated by the white colors right there on the map is showing quite a fairly cloudy morning that goes for central northern Uganda as well as the central parts of Uganda itself. We're looking at southwestern and as well much of central Uganda, starting off with mostly cloudy weather. Now it looks like we actually have a reduction in wet weather activities for much of the country. So yes, maybe for quite some days we might be dealing away with most of the extremities when it comes to the intensity of rainfall across much of the country. But also it's probably not good news, but good news, we're maintaining sunny weather. That is for the eastern part of the country as well as the Elgon region. Also for this morning, that is starting off with mostly sunny conditions for Mbale. You look at areas within Amuria, Soroti, that is still sunny weather. And same conditions as well for the southwestern part of the country. This is where we've had much intensity in terms of rains, where we also saw floods, that is across Kisoro, Kabale, but we are also seeing a reducing trend, meaning that we have reduced wet weather activities across that area, and that means that we could actually be looking at also another clear day for today morning. But then again, we'll be looking at the forecast for today that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority to look at what we are expecting for today. The central part of northern Uganda, we're looking at the Jumani, Gulu, Kitgum and Padel, where we are forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, starting off quite hot at 29 degrees for this morning. Now the eastern side of Lake Victoria, Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja, we're forecasting light showers. Those will be coming in as the morning progresses and also starting off at a warm 28 degrees centigrade. Now we're also looking at the western side of Lake Victoria, Masaka, Kalisuzo, Zimbabwe and Rakai. We are forecasting isolated showers. Those will be across several places. And also starting off with a 27 degrees centigrade. We expect that system will actually cross over into the afternoon. We could be looking at more rains for you over there. Now southwestern Uganda, Mbara, Ibanda, Bushenyi and Rubirizi, we're forecasting sunny intervals. Also that is starting off warm at 27 degrees centigrade with possibilities of light showers that will be later in the afternoon. And looking at the Elgon area, that is where we have Mbale, we do have Bududa, Buko and Sironko. We're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, and also that is starting off at a warm 27 degrees. The central part of Lake Victoria Basin, Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe, Wakiso, we're forecasting isolated showers. Those will be coming in also as the morning progresses, but also over a few areas. And of course, that is the same system that is expected to reappear again later on in the afternoon for several places. Across eastern Uganda, we're looking at Soroti, Kantakuya, Muria and Kumi. We're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, mostly sunny for this morning. And that is starting off quite hot with a 29 degrees centigrade. It will only be getting hotter in the afternoon, as we do expect to maintain similar weather even then. Now the eastern side of central, Ruwero, Woblenzi, Bururi and Nakaseke, we're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, also starting off hot at 29 degrees centigrade and mostly sunny as we speak right now from the satellite information. Now, beyond that, we also want to look at some of the targets that have been put across, especially in the general fight against climate change. And of course, we're looking at some of the initiatives that were done or have been done. And we do know that the biggest organization that has been at the back end or at the forefront of making sure that countries are actually maintaining their targets or even encouraging people to go for climate action has been the UN. Now, the UN has come up with initiatives, especially when it comes to reducing pollution. And much of that has has been really not achieved to the percentage that was required. As we looked into the mission that was put across, that is Mission 2020. We came into 2020 and most of that target was not achieved. But also yesterday we did see the United Nations Environmental Program coming up to say that they have laid out a blueprint to reduce plastic waste to 80% by 2040. Now that is another target that they have laid out. Now this is all in cooperation with most of the organizations that are also into fighting climate change. You look at the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, you look at UNEP itself, they have had initiatives in that arena. And of course right now they're saying that by 2040 they believe that they would have achieved 80% reduction in plastic pollution, and of course using the existing technologies as well as marking major policy changes. That is according to the environmental program. Now we also know that that is earlier last year there was a meeting that was held in Nairobi with UNEP, with initiative from UNEP as well, and that was geared towards looking at what East Africa is doing in terms of reducing pollution. Now we've also had our own policies here in Uganda, especially when it comes to plastic pollution. We did see the campaign on End Kavera. And again, it was laid out that by a certain time we should have gotten rid of Kavera, from across the town. We've also seen that KCCA has tried to make sure there are ways to get rid of Kavera of town or plastics from the major cities, but it looks like most of it actually goes to fail. Why? Because we don't have laid out action plans. And this is why in the statement that was given out, UNEP is saying that countries should be having action plans. You are looking at initiatives to reduce these, but it's not enough that you put out policies and say, okay, this is a policy that's going to govern us in terms of ending plastic pollution or how we can cap that problem without making action plans that are actually followed by most of these authorities. We've also seen that NEMA recently was trying to bring out an initiative on how cars can get trash cans to make sure that people are not dumping plastics on the roads. But that has also not been really put into play. And this is what most of these organizations are saying. We have the right targets, we have the right mind into what we should be doing, but we're not doing it. And that is where we're putting our environment at a risk, and of course exacerbating the effects of climate change. Obviously that takes a toll onto how we are also raising our nationally determined contributions when it comes to the fight against climate change. We know that later this year there will be a major conference, a climate summit that is COP28, that will be geared into looking at how countries are doing so far in terms of nationally determined contribution. Now that is where you have countries that will be saying this is what we have done, this is what we ought to do, and according to what we presented last year, this is what we have achieved. The question is, especially when it comes to plastic pollution and pollution in general, air pollution itself, how much have most of these countries achieved? And of course that goes to the policymakers, to the people that are responsible, the authorities that are responsible, make sure that we can be able to also answer to our own calls when it comes to getting rid of pollution. That does it for now. We'll be going for Good Morning Uganda agenda that will be coming in right after this. Later than that, we'll also be looking at the sports updates, and then at the top of the hour we'll be going for Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Mollen Kenyena. I want to wish you a wonderful morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.